Hello, hello, hello. Hi, and welcome. It is the last day of October 2023, the tail end of eclipse season and of October. Samhain, Halloween, Day of the Dead, etc., etc., etc. The energies are heavy and present as the veils are thin. It's a great week to work with our ancestry, to cleanse and protect our space, and to be with yourself, with your loved ones that are here presently or that have become ancestors in some way. There is so much heaviness and so much grief in the world. Many of us are feeling it personally in our lives, and many of us are just feeling the collective heaviness, the dread, the grief, the sorrow. It's difficult times collectively. And so as I prepared to get onto the call today, I took time to do my own journaling, and I pulled out a bundle of sage ethically produced by my friend Puya. And I'm just thinking of them as I light it. And I'm thinking of them because they're someone who is able to go out and do a lot of the marches and speaking and doing advocacy work that is really aligned for them and really fulfilling. And it reminds me of the importance of all of the different ways that we show up in the collective together. I'm not someone who goes out and does a lot of activism out in the world. My body can't handle it, my mind can't handle it financially. There's a lot of reasons, right? And it's something that I struggled with for a while, and that came back up for me over the weekend a little bit, and I had to really ground into my purpose and why I'm here and what my energy moves for. And you know, I have gotten really clear on that over the years. And so one of the things that I'm able to do is show up in community space, um, do energy work, do spell work, do things that fulfill me and also help support the collective and support the people that are in my community one-on-one. And so each person, the way that each person shows up in these times is going to look different. And it's hard to reserve judgment of how other people are showing up in this space. And I don't really have anything to end that with. I mean, I'm sure I do, but it's just hard, right? And so many people are having so many different experiences and different realities. And I saw somebody online was talking about the difference in what they're showing on the news versus what we can see on social media. specifically on TikTok, which is the most real time, the most uncensored, I would say, of the of the social media platforms that are like popular, and just the different realities that people are moving through. And that's seen in the astrology. We see that in the astrology again this week. And this is about the war, but it's also about things in our personal lives, right? It's about things economically. So there are like layers to how this energy shows up. What we talk about in here, or try to talk about in here, is how we can personally move through using these energies. But it's hard not to note some of the ways that they can show up collectively and stuff as we move through. Okay, so just lighting this again. And, I invite you to double up on any of your protection magic this week. Again, the veils are thin, and that's great when we're connecting with our ancestry and our loved ones. And, we want to feel that love in a deeper kind of way. And that's definitely available. But it's also all of the rest of the collective energies can just seep through, and we become so much more porous around this time. And so, if you're someone that feels the energy in that way, ramping up your protection and, cleansing rituals and grief rituals, really, really important during this time. And I'm telling you, because I am getting slaughtered, just absolutely slaughtered, in different ways. But it's weird, right? It's this like double reality, because there's some things that feel really good. And in some ways I'm just like, like when I say I feel really good, there's this piece of me that's like, lie. And when I say that I'm getting like slaughtered, there's this part of me that's like, lie, and it's just this, there's a lot of energy. And so if you're someone that feels the energy, ramping up your protection is definitely invited under this energy. Okay. So I'm just going to take a moment to breathe into the space now that I've rambled for 10 minutes. Thanks for being here. Welcome to another Mars Day. The energy is misty, spooky, shady this week, but there is some good energy this week to allow us to go deeper and to recognize how we can move creatively through this time, what we learned through this Taurus Scorpio eclipse cycle over the last few weeks, but over the last 2 years as that Scorpio Taurus eclipse cycle sequence played out. And I'm just shuffling because it's a way that helps build my energy and build my protection. So it's one of the ways that I ramp up my protection and my energy when it needs it. So I'm not going to pull tarot yet. I'm just filtering the energy. Okay. So shady astro weather. It's the last day of October as we record this. So we're going to be talking about the first week in November. November astrology is definitely better than October. October astrology was difficult. It was hard. I mean, at the beginning of the month when I went over the astrology, I said like ick or yuck or e or whatever, something not great. It was just hard, and we're still dealing with what's happening, right? Like, I think I heard that the stuff happening in Palestine / Gaza and Israel. Israel has been bombing Gaza for 24 days, right? That happened under this eclipse cycle, right? Like the squares to Pluto, the conjunctions to the South Node, and, like all the planets moving into Scorpio. It was really shady energy. And, there's a lot of things in our personal lives for a lot of us that has shifted and moved as well through October. But now we get into November and the energy kind of lightens a bit, but we're still in the stuff, right? It's just not right in it, but we have some planets that are stationing to turn and move direct, which gives us a little momentum and movement. We have Pluto much less activated. The South Node is much less activated as we get into November. Venus this week is moving through a grand Earth trine with an opposition to Neptune as well. And that's really supportive of changes that we've made in our relationships or our finances or our values, Venusian things and themes. And that's really helpful and supportive this week as a grounding energy. This week we also have Saturn stationing in the sky, and Saturn is reality. Saturn is foundations and structures and the status quo and the authority and, the teacher, the mentor, the elder. So I like Saturn stationing for this whole like tapping in and, like connecting to our ancestry. I think that's really cute for Saturn to be here and very present and stationing. I think that's sweet. As sweet as Saturn gets. But the rest of it can just bring a heaviness. Saturn rules depression and isolation. Saturn doesn't like me talking about all of it. Sorry, I said I wasn't going to pull tarot, but then all this stuff popped out at me so I was talking about Saturn, so just thought I'd have it here. So Saturn is a heaviness. Saturn is, tests and limitations and obstacles and maturing and wisdom. So when Saturn's here, it's harder to look away from the reality. But almost all of the rest of the astrology this week is like, look away, escape, do something else, right? Neptune is present. The sun comes into an opposition to Jupiter. Mercury has a trine to Neptune. Venus and Mercury are both talking to Uranus. So like, there's a lot of energy that's like, get out, don't pay attention to all of this really important life stuff that's happening. But then Saturn is like, please look at all this really important life stuff that's happening. I need you really to look at this, right? And so there's this pull or this drive to focus on the real stuff, the reality, the life, the hard stuff. But then all this other energy is like, but you can escape a little bit. Now, depending on how all of this energy hits your chart, you can feel it in a lot of different ways. Some people are going to be feeling both of those and kind of go back and forth between reality and fantasy or romanticizing or escaping. Some people are going to feel one or the other, right? Some people are only going to be in the reality, in the heavy. And so, and then some people are just going to be in the bypassy, dreamy, romanticizing, escaping part of it. And, the goal, I think, is to find the balance within your own experience so that we can look at the reality, see the reality, and work with it and show up for it, while also dreaming and finding magic in ways for us to evolve and integrate what we have learned and what we're moving through and where we want to be. Right. And that's that's how that grand Earth trine can really help support us this week, is to help us kind of, Uranus and Neptune are both activated this week with Mercury and Venus. And that can give us the ability to think out of the box and innovate the way that we're showing up in relationship. And when I say in relationship, I mean to literally all the things that we are in relation to. This RV, this picture, my husband, all of my in-laws, the river, my ancestors, like all of the things, this scrunchie, all of the things, how we relate. And there's a support around, again, this creative solution or innovative idea or opportunity that can be present this week that really helps support some of the changes that are happening or have that happened or that have happened. Okay. So anyway, we have that two reality kind of thing that's happening and showing up here as we move through the week. So this funny thing happened. This week, my astro software this weekend, my astrology software decided not to work. And so they're working on it. We're working on it. I'm working on it. I'm sure they're also working on it. But it's not working. So right now, so we can't do like the run through of the charts and all of that. But what we can do is look at the chart of the moment, and it'll also allow me to show anyone that doesn't know, that is interested in finding like how you can look up the astrology of like the moment. We're going to use astro.com, and astro.com is free, and it's normally where I send people to get like their birth chart for free or whatever. It's got, it's a little problematic. It's not my best choosing, but they're okay. And so this week I used astro.com and my ephemeris. And an ephemeris is a book, or there's an ephemeris you can like get on an app and online and stuff, but mine is in book form. And it goes through every single day and tells you where all the planets are. And it's interesting that this is happening this week because it reminds me of in 2019, I made myself do every reading and every astrological thing that I did by hand using the ephemeris. I didn't use an astrology software, and for no reason other than like I made myself do it. And that is such a Saturnian thing. Like, listen, I am Saturn on the ascendant, Capricorn ascendant, ruled by Saturn in the first house, like moon, stellium in Capricorn. Like, I am a Saturnian being. And so I just was laughing at myself at like how I made myself do a thing harder than it needed to be just for the sake of like wisdom, question mark. Like, it's just funny. And it's funny that it's coming back while Saturn is stationing in the sky. And there's other places in my life where I've noticed that I've been making it harder for myself than I need to, for the sake of ... maturity, question mark, wisdom, question mark, struggle, question mark, fear, asterisk. So anyway, that's my little Saturn station, Saturn things that came up. So we're going to look at astro.com to see the chart of the moment. And then, yeah. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so this is astro.com. You type in astro.com. This chart comes up. I have made an account. I've had an account for a really long time because I use this for readings for a long time after or before I decided to splurge on an actual software. I used astro.com for a really long time to do charts and stuff. So you can make an account or not. I don't think you have to make an account to do this part. But if you're looking for the chart of the moment, then you go to this like drop down screen on the left, And then you go to free horoscopes. And at the bottom, you go to horoscope drawings and data. And then you go to current planets. And then it's going to pull up this table graph, which I'm not a fan of. I love the chart of the moment, the circle chart. So down at the bottom, you just click chart of the moment. And then this screen comes up. I don't know. Can you see this screen? I wonder what you're seeing. Did you see the pop-up? That's what I want you to see. Let me see. That's interesting. Oh, yeah, I bet you can see this now. Okay. So here is the chart of the moment. So this is as of today, October 31st, at about 2:20 a.m. Eastern time. So we're not going to see all the charts for the week, but we can see where we start the week. Okay. And so again, last week I talked a lot about the Scorpio Taurus axis, and that is very present again this week. We can see it in the chart, pulling all of this stuff. Remember, the houses in this chart don't matter. Just the signs and the planets and the aspects are what we're looking at here. So these oppositions happening between Taurus and Scorpio are still very present this week as we move through. The other thing that we see that's happening is this grand trine happening between Venus and Virgo at the top of the chart, and then Pluto in Capricorn and Uranus in Taurus. And then it's also forming a kite with Neptune, which means it's a grand trine with a sextile at the top, and that forms a kite. If you can look at the picture and you can see the blue lines, it looks kind of like a kite, right? Okay, so that's when there's a grand trine and then a sextile that's pulling in from two sides of the trine. Does that make sense? Ask your questions if it doesn't. Okay, so the thing about this is it shows the orbs on a wider basis than I do, which is actually good because it shows us the whole week. It shows us what we're going to see pretty much the whole week. So we see that the moon starts in Gemini. This week, the moon goes from Gemini all the way to Virgo. So that part of your chart is going to be lit up by the moon and our emotions, and what kind of came up under these eclipses probably will be tied to that process as well. So, we have moon in Gemini, and on this day exactly, on Mars's day, we have the trine between Venus at 21 degrees of Virgo and Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus. And when we have this together, this is a really cute aspect for Halloween. This is really cute for like being yourself and dressing up and, having a good time and being playful and flirty and, yeah, it's cute for that. It's also good for liberation. It's also good for some kind of innovation of our values or the way that we show up in that way. This trine happening is supportive, and we feel it for most of the week because it's pulling into that kite. So that keeps all of that very active this week as Venus moves through Virgo. So first it hits that trine to Uranus. And like I said, that's cute for the energy. It's also, it opens us up to change and possibilities in relationship, and also again our finances and in advocacy and the rights of people that aren't cis white men or cis men, and it's cute. I like this trine to start us out for the week after we had those eclipses that are really a little rough. As we get into the following day, Mercury's day, so on November 1st, we have moon void of course for a big chunk of the day, from 8:30 a.m. Eastern time to 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. The moon is void of course before it moves into Cancer. And what that means is the moon is mooning. So whatever the moon is touching in your chart, the moon isn't being tethered by any other planet. It doesn't have any other planet like that it's having to reflect ideas back to or, bring things to us for. The moon just gets to do moon things in that end part of Gemini before it moves into Cancer. This is kind of sleepy, dreamy. This can be kind of like eclipse hangover energy, where we're just kind of feeling void. But depending on what's happening for you, you can just be wrapped up in whatever that energy feels like. So moon is void, of course. I invite flow on that day. If you're able to allow yourself to just kind of float a little bit, I think that would be supportive. With the moon void. I wouldn't start any new projects when the moon is void. I would just, again, allow yourself to flow. Don't try not to force anything that doesn't feel accessible. And then on Jupiter's day, on November the 2nd, the moon is in Cancer, and that's it. We don't have any other exact aspects. But what's happening is there's a building of tension because the oppositions happening in Scorpio and Taurus are thickening because the sun and Jupiter are coming into their exact opposition. And that happens on Venus's day, on Friday, on November the 3rd. The sun comes into the opposition with Jupiter. And that's really big. That can help us if we need some support in our like confidence or how we show up. This can give us some kind of opportunity to flex our identity or show up and be ourselves, shine our light, etc. It's an opposition though, so it can go a little bit too far. It can be a little bit too boisterous. And again, we can see that in our own lives or the lives of other people. That becomes exact on Venus's day, on Friday. The other thing that happens is Venus is now in an exact opposition to Neptune in Pisces. So this is happening at 25 degrees of Virgo and Pisces. So now the Virgo Pisces axis is activated again with this opposition. We were feeling this probably like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll feel this opposition kind of present in the experience. And this is really cute. Venus opposite Neptune is very romantic. And this is where we can get a little bit too romantic, too dreamy, too escapey, too pretend that everything's okay, right? But it allows us to dip out of reality for a moment and be a little bit dreamy or idealistic in some way. The thing about this opposition is it can set us up really high, and then we kind of it falls flat, whatever it is that we were dreaming up or romanticizing. So keeping that in mind with the oppositions is important this week for sure. But the Venus is also pulling into a trine with Pluto. So these are all overlapping, right? The trine to Uranus, and then the opposition to Neptune, and then the trine to Pluto. They're all overlapping this week. And so Venus is getting a lot of support around kind of creating something or going deep with someone, being very spiritual. Magic is very present here in this energy as well. And it's supported by that opposition between the sun and Jupiter, because the sun and Jupiter together can also be very spiritual and very it can be like high and mighty and preachy also. So that can be present. But this can allow us just to really fly high above the stuff that's happening in a material realm. And remember, that takes us into those two realities where we can become bypassing, or someone else can become bypassing to the experience of what is happening in reality. So we have to keep in mind when we're allowing ourselves to float and create and imagine that we still stay rooted and aware of what's happening on the material plane. Saturn is stationing, right? And these oppositions allow us to shoot really high into the sky, and then Saturn stationing has us fall flat, right? And it can be a little bit of a struggle. So we have that opposition with Neptune that is exact on the 3rd, on Venus's day. And then we get to Saturn's day on the 4th, and this is the day that Saturn stations direct officially. It happens at 3:03 a.m. Eastern time. And we also have the moon that is now into Leo as we move into Saturn's day. And then we also have an exact opposition between Mercury and Uranus. This is breakthroughs or innovation in our thoughts, our beliefs, the way that we show up in friendship and in our surroundings. This is like a creative or or yeah, like a creative solution that we can come into as we have Mercury and Uranus coming into this opposition. So Mercury is the first of the 3 planets in Scorpio that will hit this opposition to Uranus at 21 degrees of Taurus. And Uranus is just coming off of that trine to Venus. So Uranus is going to be activated here over the next couple months. Over the next couple weeks. And so as that happens, Uranus is change and liberation and revolution and uniqueness and, the ability to adapt and evolve. It's our nervous system. And so all of these things can get activated as we move through the next weeks. And what it indicates is whatever happened over the eclipses, or what is playing out with the eclipses, Uranus is now here to help us kind of shift through it and adapt to the changes, or bring changes where needed. And so again, when Uranus is activated, it's urging us to liberate, to rebel from what is holding us back from being ourselves. And so looking into your own chart and how this stuff is hitting, again, this is all, Uranus is at 21 degrees of Taurus. And then so Mercury would be at 21 degrees of Scorpio. They're in an opposition. Okay, so we have station direct and Mercury opposite Uranus on this day, on Saturn's day. And Saturn stationing direct, I talked about it in my Instagram stories. I also talked about it a little bit here. And the specific day might matter, but because Saturn is moving so slowly, for the next week, this week and next week, Saturn will be quote unquote station. It's not moving very fast. But then after that, Saturn flies through the next 19 degrees of Pisces. So it goes from 0 degrees of Pisces where it's stationing to 19 degrees of Pisces next summer when it stations to go retrograde again. So if you have planets mutable signs, so Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces, at 0 to 19 degrees, just know that Saturn is headed your way. Okay. So that reality piece looms over this weekend as Saturn is stationing. Okay. And then we get to Sunday. I keep going to like change the day, but we're not changing the day. Remember, this is just what we get. Okay. So on the Sun's day, the Sun is in Scorpio. This is the second week of the Sun's day with the Sun in Scorpio. This is also the day that the Moon moves into Leo, into a square to the Sun, indicating that we're in that last quarter Moon phase. So we're in the release. We're in a point of, this is time for this to go, right? So we're really starting to like churn around what those South Node squares to Pluto, all that stuff has been like bringing up and moving for us. And we get to that fourth quarter Moon phase on Sunday, and it's also daylight savings. So just if you do that, we do that. But there's nothing exact that's happening here. We just kind of hit this next phase of our moon cycle where we might start shedding and releasing a little bit more if things have felt a little bit stuck. And then we get to Moon Day on November 6th. And there's another chunk of void of course moon on this day from 2:30 a.m. Eastern time to 2:40 p.m. Eastern time on the 6th. The moon is void at the end of Leo before it moves into Virgo. So again, flowing, moony things, try not to start anything or force anything under this energy. But the other thing that happens here is we have 2 exact trines on this day. Venus is exactly trine Pluto, and Mercury is exactly trine Neptune. And this is really supportive for us to move through some deep, cathartic, intense, or intimate conversations with our friends, with our loved ones, in a way that can be supportive and not like too jarring or traumatizing. This allows us to sit with some kind of depth with Venus trine to Pluto. This can be some awareness that comes forward under this energy. Mercury is also trining Neptune in water. So Mercury is in Scorpio and Neptune is in Pisces. And, this energy, again, is really supportive of that kind of creative, both Venus's trine to Pluto, creative, and Mercury's trine to Neptune, creative, right? We're trying and working to integrate some kind of solution or support to what we've been moving through. So I really like that we're finishing the week with those trines, and the moon is also moving through Virgo, so it's going to pick up on those trines to Jupiter and Uranus, and then conjunct Venus, and then it'll trine Pluto. It'll also sextile all those planets that are in Scorpio. And so I really like this. I think it's a supportive couple days for us to come to terms with where we are and where we want to go, and what that looks like, and how we can show up, and how we can know better and do better, and move through kind of this next phase, whatever is coming up for us. So that's the astrology of the week. So let me take you back through the transits really quickly all together. So starting on today, October 31st. So we have, again, the moon is moving through Gemini to Virgo this week. We have Venus trine Uranus, Sun opposite Jupiter, Venus opposite Neptune, Saturn stations direct, Mercury opposite Uranus, Venus trine Pluto, Mercury trine Neptune. Okay, so we got things moving. There's oppositions, meaning there's going to be people having different experiences. We have some supportive energy. We have some heavy energy. There's a lot to kind of cling into and look into. So find what's happening in your chart, and find what's being aspected in your chart, and kind of lean in to the trines where you can. And if Saturn is what is present for you, recognize how you can show up for that reality, right? For whatever is the important stuff that we're being asked, or that we are responsible for. How can we show up in those spaces, right? And then allowing those earth trines to help us stay grounded and move slowly and intentionally, to build whatever it is that Saturn is asking for us to build, or to hold, or to cultivate, or to learn. So, okay. I have all my stuff out today. I have candles, I have incense, I have my crystal, like not just my crystals that I normally have, but my entire crystal bin is sitting beside me. I have cards. I have candles lit up at my altar. Like, the protection is up. The protection is up, and I still feel like I could use some more. So that's where we are. That's where we are. Thank you for being here. Today, I'm going to pull from this little astrology deck. It's a little astrology oracle. And we're just gonna, I'm changing my mind. If you want one of these cards, this is for someone more specifically. So let me do this. If you are watching this and you want one of the cards from this deck, this is an astrology deck. It's Heavenly Bodies Astrology. Whether you think this is for you, or now that you see it, you just want one. If you want me to pull a card for you for the week, let me know. Here, there, anywhere. Let me know. I didn't do any check-ins with y'all. Please pop out and let me know how you're feeling. Anytime. Even if I don't set the space because I'm too in my own space setting. Okay. So we're going back to Gilded Tarot this week. Seeing energy for the week ahead. As we move forward into the first week of November 2023. Saturn stationing, Venus is creating and moving through its fall of Virgo in preparation to move into Libra later this month. But as it moves through this week, it's very active with the grand Earth trine and an opposition to Neptune. We have the Sun opposite Jupiter, bringing us confidence and support and magic and opportunities. What's an energy for us to lean into or keep in mind as we move through this week, the last day of October, the first week of November? For the folks that are here live, and for those that are watching on the replay, we get the World card. We get the World card. So just taking time to have any process that comes up for you organically, anything that you see that sticks out to you, anything that comes up for you, anything you feel or remember as you look at the card. I'm going to chat just for a second. It's interesting. The World card has come up for me a lot. So there's a lot to that, but also the World card is tied to Saturn in astrology. And yeah, so the World card is tied to Saturn in astrology. I also thought it was interesting that this card came out and then these 3 Pentacle cards also came forward. And it's the King of Pentacles, the Six of Pentacles, and the Queen of Pentacles. And so I just want to offer that as an add-on for anyone that is interested in kind of adding on to the message with these Pentacle cards, which I find really interesting. So the King and the Queen of Pentacles, and then the Six of Pentacles, which is like sharing, giving, the balance of the give and take of things with the present with the World card. So, okay. Show up for yourself, show up for others. See you when I see you. Thanks for being here. We'll chat soon. Ask your questions. Let me know what you're going through. Yeah. Thanks for being here.